Welcome to ReWilding for Women, where we explore the fullness of woman. I'm Sabrina Lynn, and today's episode is an interesting one, and it's a bit spicy, and it might be a bit confrontational. I'm just warning you. The title of today's episode is Prostitute, Prude, or Priestess. And what we're doing in this episode is exploring the nature of a woman's sexuality. Also exploring inner archetypal patterns as well. And where do these patterns sit within us, right? So how fully are we able to express this part of self or this archetypal pattern? So before I get into that, just want to give you a quick reminder that everything that you see or hear here is also found on our website, rewildingforwomen.com. If you don't want to miss anything, I strongly suggest going there to subscribe. We send out a lot of insider info just to our newsletter list. So things that you won't see on YouTube, you won't see on iTunes, here on iTunes, and you won't see on the website or social media. So, all right, enough of that stuff. Let's get into this. And I've got a couple of caveats before we start. One is, please hold these terms loosely, right? It's they're strong terms in our language, and they often can bring up a lot of emotion or resistance or thoughts or anything else. So as we talk about these, hold them loosely, but also really pay attention to what's stirring for you. Are you hating me at this moment? Are you crying? Are you wanting to cry? Are you putting up a defense of, this does not relate to me, I am absolutely not this, right? So hold these terms loosely, but also allow whatever is naturally arising for you to arise, right? Okay. The other thing that I want to share with you right off the bat is I do these podcasts and these YouTube videos as a way of sharing things that have helped me, sharing things that I use in my rewilding workshops, and sharing things that I have seen hundreds of women benefit from. But that doesn't mean that everything I share with you will be of benefit to you. Some of it may be a bit too out there, or some of it may just not be the right time for you yet. So as you listen to this episode and anything else that I share, take what is of service to you. Take in what serves you. Adopt what serves you. Adopt what's useful for you. The stuff that seems to be a little bit out there, that's fine. Wonderful, good. Put it outside, put it in a little box next to you. Maybe it will be useful in the future, and maybe it won't be. But I hope, my intention with all of this that I do and that I share, is that there's something in here for you. There is something that will be of benefit to you to improve your life, to improve your body, your health, your relationship, your sex life, your career, all of that. So with that in mind, let's do a bit of a meditation together, and let's tap into our sexual energy, simply because we're talking about prostitutes, prudes, and priestesses, which oftentimes all have to do with our sex energy. So let's just take a second and tap into, this is an interesting place, and if you don't feel anything right away, that's fine, but continue to do this practice if it sits well with you until you do feel something. What we'll do is we'll take our attention to the base of our womb, right? So it's that second chakra area. If you don't exactly know where that is, just put your hand a few inches below your belly button and kind of just visualize the base of your womb. And once you take your attention there, just tune in to see what's happening. Is there movement happening there? Is there a rhythm that you can sense? Similar to a heartbeat. Is there a beat to your womb? Or a different rhythm? Is there a song? Is there a movement that your body wants to do? So if you're watching this on the video, you can probably see that my shoulders are actually moving, and it's coming from my core. So that movement is just allowing that energy to move and flow through my body, but it's actually coming from the base of my womb. Now, in some traditions, this is believed to be the seat of our sexual energy. And if you like, and you want to continue with this meditation, light some candles, put on some soft music, maybe put your hand, if you're watching the video, you can see that my hand is just a few inches below my belly button. That helps to bring awareness there. A slight pressure in that area also can help to stir things, to get things moving. And what you can do in this meditation is just continue to energize. And if you're on the video and if you can see, I'm not sure if the camera's low enough, but if you start to do, you've got your hand just below your belly button, and you start to do small, gentle circles with your hand in that area, that also starts to energize that portion of our bodies, which we don't often tap into, we don't often open up to, and depending on where you're at in your journey, could be completely closed off for you at this point. Or it could be that it's just starting to open for you, or it could be that it's fully open, and this energy, this power, this wisdom that comes from our wombs is accessible to you. So wherever you're at on your journey, it's a great practice. Doesn't matter if you're just starting out or if you're incredibly open and that portion of your body is accessible to you, to the rest of you. All right, so let's talk a little bit about these three words that I have so conveniently thrown out there. The title of this podcast actually happened through a conversation with my partner just yesterday. And I was explaining how certain rewilding workshops will have this flavor of prostitute energy. What do I mean by prostitute energy? Let's not take it in the shadow form of prostitute energy. Let's take it from a freedom of sexual expression energy. So let's take the positive side of this, and let's think about it as freely expressing my sexual energy, right? I am freely able to move it through my body. I'm freely able to speak it through my words. So if you're one of those women who always wonders, how on earth are some women able to just magnetize men? This is it. This is that energy. So everything that you do can be flavored with this sexual energy. Back to my original story is chatting with my partner and saying some workshops are very flavored with this free flowing, wild, sensual, sexual nature in woman, and then opposite to that, there are occasional workshops where it is prude. Now, again, let's not take the negative side of prude. Let's take the positive side of prude. And let's look at it as self-contained. So let's think about it as my sexual energy is actually just self-contained, right? So a really great archetype for this containment of sexual energy is Vesta. Vesta is a glorious goddess archetype. And when I talk about archetypes, again, an archetype is just a vortex of energy that has certain characteristics to it. They exist both within us, but also external to us in the consciousness. So out in the collective, these archetypal patterns also exist out there. We can call upon them. We can bring them up through us. Some of them are very inherent in our personalities. They're very strong signatures of our personalities, and we're actually using this part of self, this archetype, on a daily basis. Whereas other archetypal patterns are not necessarily signature to us, but we can lean on them for their gifts, for healing, for opening, for empowerment, for initiations. Oftentimes, these archetypal energies, these goddesses, have a lot to share with us. So Vesta is one of these beautiful goddesses she is a prude. So she's a virginal goddess, and she's containment. She is goddess of the home and the hearth. So she's actually the goddess who carries the flame. So she continually keeps that flame lit. And if you think about self in terms of Vesta, it's actually just a containment of my sexual energy. I'm not freely expressing it, right? And allowing it to flow out. I'm not letting that energy escape through my words. I'm not expressing it through my body. It's here within me. It's like a little flame that's lit within my core, and it just stays there. I am content. She's very peaceful, Vesta. It's a very comfortable, warm, yummy feeling. And if you're relating to this, know that you're a Vesta woman, right? Know that Vesta is just very strong for you, and she's a great archetype to then potentially research more into or feel into that part of self. So we'll just relate her a little bit to the term prude. Now, before we get to Priestess, I want to talk a bit about the shadow side of Prostitute and Prude. And as we go through this, and even now, you may want to stop the podcast or stop the video, or you may already have insights coming through. But to ask yourself, where am I on this scale of sexual energy expression, right? And I'll explain more as we go through the shadow sides as well. But just start to get a good feel for, where do you sit with your sexual energy? Is it on the prostitute side? Is it on the prude side? Does it change? Whether, depending on the situation you're in, which it should. It absolutely should, right? When you're in an intimate setting with your husband, it should be more towards the sexual expression side versus you're in a room, a boardroom at work, giving a very formal presentation, right? There's a huge spectrum here. So now let me just go through shadow sides to kind of get a feel for, and you are, I'm sure, very well aware of shadow sides. Look, our society has been banishing prostitute and even banishing the prude for a very long time. So I think you're really well aware of shadow side. And then we'll talk about the priestess, which is where, in my opinion, and just for terminology used today, is the divine expression of our sexual energy. It is the purest, highest form of our sexual expression. All right? So let's talk first about the prostitute. Now, prostitute, another archetype to think about here is Aphrodite or Venus. Same archetype, same goddess. Just one was from the Greek pantheon, one is then renamed Roman. Doesn't matter. So let's call her Aphrodite. I like Aphrodite. I like that word today. So the Aphrodite archetype and expression of energy is extremely sensual, extremely loving, extremely sexual, erotic. She loves men, right? Loves the opposite sex. That nourishes her. So attention from men, love from men, gifts from men, the male energy nourishes her. She feeds on that. That's Aphrodite. And not only does she receive, so she's a great receiver. Feminine is always receiving, but then she can also gift back to men, right? So she's receiving and she's gifting. She's gifting love. She's gifting praise onto men. She's gifting her sexual energy, which opens and awakens a man. So that's Aphrodite energy. Now let's look at prostitute, right? So Aphrodite and the prostitute are very related, very related. The shadow side of Aphrodite is manipulation. It is prostitution. It is, I know how to get what I want with a man. I know how to manipulate his emotions, his sex energy, his desire in order to get what I want, right? So that's the shadow side, or we can call it distorted side of Aphrodite. And I actually remember this conversation will never leave my head, actually. It's one of those memories that I have when I was 21, maybe 22. I had just gotten into sales, and I was a female sales rep in an all-male world, right? I was selling into the chemical industry. It's all men. It's absolutely all men. And somebody said to me, Sabrina, do you understand the power that you have as a woman over, and I'm just using very close to the terminology that was used on me. The power that you have over men is phenomenal, Sabrina. You could absolutely get your way every time, right? So that is extremely prostitute, right? That is the extreme of the distorted energy of Aphrodite. So here I am, this like beautiful looking sales rep in an all-male world, and I'm manipulating, I'm distorting, I'm pouring affections onto men to awaken their desire, to arouse them, to lead them on in a way, because I want something. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? I hope so. So feel into that particular archetype and that shadow aspect of sex energy, of the expression of sex energy. Now let's look at the Prude. Let's look at Vesta. Shadow side of the Prude is actually disowned. So it's disowned based on numerous things, but one can be fear. I don't want to express my sexual energy because I'm afraid of what could happen. I don't want to fully open to my juice, to my potential, to my sexuality, because I'm scared of what it will do to the masculine, and I'm scared of what will happen to me. Does that make sense? So that's just one example of where the sexuality has been disowned. So that's the shadow side of the Prude, right? That's no fun. And that's kind of living as if part of you is dead. So we've got these two words that we're using, the prostitute and the Prude. We've seen the positive side of them. We've seen the shadow or distorted or disowned side of them. And now let's look at that third term. So let's look at the term priestess, and let's kind of unfold what priestess means. An archetype for priestess, there's many, and there's like a whole flood of them coming into my brain, but the one that is the loudest in the moment is Lolita. Lolita is oh, she's gorgeous. After you do work, deep work and a lot of work with some of these archetypal energies or these goddesses, and you even just visualize them in your head, which is what I just did, their energy oftentimes will flood you. And you just get a whole flood of Lolita. That's why I'm giggling, because I have this massive flood of her beautiful, beautiful energy. I absolutely think of Lolita as a priestess archetype, as the divine expression of our sexual energy. She's not a prude, she's not a prostitute, she's a priestess. She's coming from a place that is much higher than prostitute and prude. There are no distortions in her. There is nothing disowned in her. But it is sex energy expressed in a way that is in everybody's absolute best interest, highest interest. It is the highest expression of sexual energy. It's hard for me to even give you words for this, and it actually makes me want to cry, because it is so pure and so divine and so glorious that the second I try to put words around how this energy feels in my system, it loses the purity of it. There is not a word on this planet that can capture the divine essence and the divine nature of her, of this expression of sex energy. It is the most beautiful thing that you will ever experience. Yeah. Wow, I had no idea that I was gonna cry in an episode. I had no idea that that was gonna happen. All right. Something that I will end on is we'll do a Lolita meditation, and we'll end on that. Yeah, we'll end on that, and I'll also invite you. So we'll do a meditation, but before I do that, I'm going to extend an invitation to you to come to one of our ReWilding lover workshops, where we work with this energy. We work with the purity of our sexual expression, the fullness, the fully awake sexual expression, but the divinely expressed sexual energy of the priestess, of Lolita. Yeah, so just go to the website rewildingforwomen.com and see what events we have coming up. Okay, let's do a meditation on Lolita. So just get comfortable, close your eyes. And just start to take notice of your breath. And soften your body. So just notice where you can soften, where you can relax, where you can open. Can you open your lungs? Can you open your throat? Can you open your mouth, your nose? Can you open your ears? Can you open the pores in your skin? Can you open your yoni? Can you open? How open can you be in this moment? As you continue to open, start to just feel the interaction between your body and the atmosphere or the air. So in your breath, as you inhale, where does your breath touch you? Where does the air touch your skin? If you're sitting, where does your body touch the chair? And just start to breathe and open to those interactions. To what happens and can you start to feel that these interactions are in a form or in a way love-making? So can you allow your body to make love to the air that you breathe in? Right? So can you allow there to be a kind of bliss? Can you allow that breath to be a form of an awakening, an enlivening? How much can you allow your body to make love to the air that you breathe? Now this is a great time to continue this practice, to put on some music that you feel will open you. Music that will allow every cell in your body to come alive and to make love in a way with everything else. That's Lolita. That is pure divine Lolita. She's bliss. She's divine sexuality. She's erotic nature. She's glorious. My hope is that today's episode has brought you a bit closer to the priestess in you, has brought you a bit closer to this natural, healthy, divine, glorious expression of that beautiful sexual energy that is in you. I hope to see you at ReWildingForWomen.com, maybe at an event or our Facebook page. You can always look up our private Facebook page. Just search for Rewilding for Women on Facebook, and there's a private group where it's just us women chatting and sharing and doing what women do, doing the good stuff that women do. And I really hope to see you at an event in the future. So much love to you. Mwah.